Okay, so for this example, we want to find the derivative using the limit definition of the derivative for the function f of x equals 4 divided by x squared. So first thing up is to recall that definition. F prime of x is the limit as delta x approaches 0 of f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x. So for our function, that is the limit as delta x goes to 0 of 4 divided by x plus delta x squared minus 4 over x squared, all divided by delta x. So the first thing to do in this problem is to really clean up our notation and simplify this complex fraction. So in doing so, we're going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal of delta x. So this is the limit as delta x goes to 0 of our 4 over x plus delta x squared and now multiply that by a 1 over delta x. So now you'll notice that we need to go in and find common denominators so we can subtract these two fractions. So in doing so, we will take the first fraction and multiply by x squared over x squared. So again, multiply by an x squared over an x squared. In our second fraction, we will multiply by x plus delta h squared in the numerator and denominator. And don't forget that this whole thing is still being multiplied by our 1 over delta x. So now we'll go through and multiply this out. So our 4x squared is going to stay a 4x squared, but now we're going to have minus 4, and we have to multiply out. So we're going to have an x squared plus 2 times x times delta x plus delta x squared over top of the product, x squared times x plus delta x squared, and still times a 1 over delta x. Further distributing, we've got a 4x squared minus 4x squared minus 8 times x times delta x minus 4 times delta x squared over our x squared times x plus delta x squared, again times a 1 over delta x. You'll notice that we can cancel out our 4x squareds. Everything that's left has a common factor of delta x that we will factor out. So we're going to factor out a delta x in our numerator. Leaves us with minus 8 times x minus 4 times the remaining delta x. Down below, we still have x squared times x plus delta x squared. We still have a minus, or times, I should say, 1 over delta x behind us. All right, so now we can cancel out that delta x factor that we just factored out with that 1 over delta x. And that will leave us with the limit as delta x goes to 0 of negative 8 times x minus 4 times delta x over the product x squared times x plus delta x squared. We can now replace all of our delta x's with 0. So that's going to give us a negative 8 times x minus 4 times 0 divided by x squared times x plus 0 squared. That's going to simplify down to just negative 8 times x over x squared times x squared, which is going to simplify down to just negative 8 over x to the third power. So we found out that our derivative, when it's all said and done, is f prime of x is equal to negative 8 divided by x to the third power. And you'll notice quickly that that derivative is not defined when x is equal to 0, and our function 4 over x squared was also not defined when x was equal to 0, so those discontinuities are inherited by the derivative of our function.